everyone. Welcome back to our Plugged In webinar series, and thank you for attending today's event. My name is Maureen Merkey, and I'm the host for today's webinar. At Questline Digital, we're focused on bringing value to utility companies by improving the customer experience and achieving program goals. Before we begin, we want to cover just a few important housekeeping items with you. First, we love an engaged audience. If you have any questions during the event, we encourage you to submit them in our Q&A section. Don't be shy, our presenters love questions. We also have the attendee chat open. Please feel free to use this function to chat with other attendees about what's standing out to you from the presentation, ask questions, or just to network. To get started, go ahead and drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. I am live from Columbus, Ohio. We will also conduct poll questions throughout the presentation, and we hope you'll join in on the fun and participate. To view the poll results, simply access the Polls tab to the left of your screen. Habla usted español? Parlez-vous français? English not your native language? Check out our closed captioning feature for more options. We have 12 languages available. Finally, look for a follow-up email in your inbox this week. You'll receive the PowerPoint presentation and a playback link to the webinar recording. Now, let me introduce our presenters for today. Taisha Torres is a lead utility services specialist for the Small Business Support Group within the Key Account Services section of customer service at the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. She has been with LADWP for about 10 years, with experience in the call center and efficiency programs prior to becoming the lead in Small Business Support Group in 2021. Taisha takes point on the SMB newsletter, Empowering Small Businesses, and helped launch the Empowering Small Business microsite through Questline. Jason Stinnett is a utilities and local government professional at the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, the nation's largest municipal utility. A former public information officer with more than 3 decades of experience, Jason specializes in communications, public policy, and stakeholder engagement. His current role involves leading high-level customer care for LADWP's largest and most complex customers on a wide range of issues, including billing, project planning, energy efficiency, water conservation, and sustainability. During his career, he has developed and produced award-winning print, web, and television content. In today's webinar, we're going to have a panel discussion with Taisha and Jason and hear more about LADWP's best practices for communicating with water customers, programs that they market, and how customers have responded to this engagement. Just to let you know, our webinar today will actually be 1 hour long instead of the allotted 45 minutes. We have so many great things to talk about with Jason and Taisha, we just couldn't cut it down. So I hope that you'll be able to stay with us for the full hour, but if not, you can rewatch on demand later. Before I kick off our discussion, I would like to begin with a poll question. The question is, what are the biggest challenges your water utility faces in building stronger customer relationships? Is it communication barriers? Is it trust and credibility? Lack of education? Limited resources for customer engagement initiatives? Or maybe it's understanding customer needs and preferences. So go ahead and choose what challenges your utility might be facing. Hopefully through today's discussion, you'll leave with some strategies and ideas for conquering those challenges. Remember that you can see all poll responses by going to the poll widget on your screen. I'll keep that open for a few minutes to let the responses roll in. But for now, let's get things started. Taisha and Jason, thank you both for joining me today. Why don't we kick things off by having you tell us a little bit more about LADWP and your specific roles?
Okay. Well, LADWP is the nation's largest municipal utility, serving about 4 million Los Angeles residents. That's the businesses and residents of the city of LA. We have a pretty challenging environment. There's a lot of dynamic issues that come up on a regular basis. We're always trying to find a way to make sure that we keep up with our infrastructure and make sure that we provide safe, reliable service to our customers. And just a little bit about what I do in my section. I work in the key accounts section where we work with our largest customers. So this includes government agencies, hotels and hospitals, other large customers throughout. So the primary sources of our revenue, and our job is to make sure that we're addressing all of their needs, from customer service to billing to engagement on participation in our incentive programs to help them save money and help our utility meet its regulatory goals.
Hi, I'm Taisha. I'm also in key accounts, but I work specifically with our small businesses, so small commercial customers. And so we're mirroring what Jason is doing with some of the larger customers, but on a smaller scale. And a lot of the smaller commercial customers may not have a person on staff that is in charge of their efficiency and conservation goals. So we try to push them towards the direction of the most efficient, the most conservative ways to approach the business, maybe from an industry standpoint or maybe just from a small business standpoint. And so we try to show them how they can save money, of course, which was most important to them, but also, as Jason said, meet our regulatory goals, make sure that they're informed about what's going on. Just because we had a rainy season doesn't necessarily mean that we still don't have to conserve water, right? And so that we have to continue to push those messages towards our customers, whether they be commercial, whether they be residential, whether they be large businesses or small businesses. We're here to give them the expertise of utility since we do serve customers for electric and water. We try to make sure that they know what they need to do to meet their goals.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add, Taisha made an excellent point about the drought. Continuing education, whether we're talking about conserving water or just improving energy efficiency, that's also one of the challenges that we have on a regular basis. There's no way that we can achieve our goals as a utility in serving our customers and meeting all the various guidelines that we're subject to without partnering very closely with our customers. So that ongoing education component is critical. Thanks for mentioning that, Taisha.
Absolutely.
All right, now I have a few questions to ask you both about how you engage with LADWP's water customers. For our audience members out there, I wanted to share that you can feel free to ask any additional questions you have in the chat box, and we'll get to those during our audience Q&A at the end. But so, to start things off, my first question for you both is, do you think that communicating with water customers is different than communicating with energy customers? And are there any challenges you faced when trying to connect with them?
I think customers are customers. You want to give customers the respect that they deserve. You want to make sure that you listen and understand what it is they need from the utility. Sometimes just listening to what the customer needs before you start giving them all the information will help you better serve them, right? So we want to make sure that we're always professional. We want to make sure that we're giving them the most up-to-date information, and we want to make sure that we're meeting their needs. And so we, especially in the small business support group, also have the job of being a liaison to the rest of the services in the department. So I may get a small business that needs some conservation information, or I may get a small business that's starting up a new project and they want to know, hey, who do I talk to before I start this project? At the beginning of working with a customer in the LADWP territory, or actually being a customer in the LADWP territory. So there's a lot of aspects that we try to meet as a professional for those customers and whatever their needs are.
We wear a lot of hats in this section. We have to know a little bit about everything. We're not necessarily going to be the subject matter experts. However, we need to get the right person to the meeting, or we have to have the right information. So that way we can give the customers what they need. And also just want to say a word about just that contact with the customer. We are representing our agency. So it's really incumbent upon us to make sure that we're doing so professionally, compassionately, kindly, and just putting the safety and the service of our customers first, and not just our external customers, our internal customers as well. Taisha and I can only do so much. So our internal relationships are every bit as important as our relationships with our customers, because otherwise we can't get that water service turned on. We can't get that rebate check cut for changing out their lights to more efficient lighting. So really those are challenges. But kind of getting back to the primary component of the question, is it any different talking to water customers or any energy customers? I agree with Taisha. I think it's the same. And the ways to communicate with them, whatever they like. Some people like email. Some people like telephone. We also have some other tools that we've developed. We use the Questline platform for our newsletter for our commercial customers. We use that as a primarily as a marketing vehicle for our energy efficiency and water conservation programs, but also as an education vehicle when we need to get out messages on drought, when we need to get out messages on city initiatives that are going to impact them as customers. It's really a valuable piece of infrastructure for us to have in building those bridges with our customers.
Absolutely. I love both of those answers. I agree. Customers are customers, but I also love that you mentioned, meeting the right people with the right messages on the platforms that they prefer. That's really important. So love that. Thank you both. My next question is, what do you think water customers want from their utility besides water?
I think I think responsiveness is always going to be right at or near the top of the list. So I think that's one. We have a leak, help. So we've gotten that call pretty frequently. But another component, it's education, letting them know about their options. Average residential customer, your average commercial customer aren't going to know a whole heck of a lot about DWP's programs or any utilities programs for that matter if we don't do the footwork. So we really work hard to educate our customers about that. What programs we have. We have everything from custom performance program for very specific projects that are customized in nature that meet their needs but still yield significant energy savings. We have things like the commercial lighting incentive program. We have on the water side our technical assistance program, which helps offset costs, capital costs for new water towers and related equipment. So really educating them about those opportunities that we have really helps them. And one really effective way I think we have of providing that kind of education, we have an annual event called the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power Sustainability Awards, where we honor our customers, our largest customers, who have been most successful in the application of those programs. So the customers that have yielded the biggest savings and reductions in energy use and water use, we put them on a platform, we shine a spotlight on them, and we show them off to everybody because this kind of exemplifies the partnerships that we're really working hard to build, and it serves as a model for other agencies that maybe don't have the initiative, the sophistication, or the knowledge to be able to leverage those programs. But if they see it done somewhere else, it's much easier to say, hey, look, that's a template I can pick up and replicate here for the success of my business or my organization. So just really that education and that constant dialogue. I think I'll end on that note. Constant dialogue, constant communication, check in with your customers on a regular basis. Some people don't want to hear from you quarterly. They want to hear from you once a year. Just kind of like figuring out what platform they prefer to communicate on, how frequently, that's another important one.
Yeah, and people want to save money. I mean, that's the number one thing that I hear from small business owners, from residential customers, and some of the larger customers is, how can I save money? Yes, I want to be, conservative with my water use. Yes, I want to be the most efficient. Yes, I want to be sustainable, but can I do it in a way that saves me money, right? So I think that's always number one, but we can put that to the side because that's going to be everybody's, number one, concern. How can I do this the most economically, right? But after that, I find with small businesses, they want to know, what are other people in my industry doing? Like, are there any standards within my industry for conservation? One of the tools that we have as a small business group is that we have the Empowering Small Business website. Now, that website is specific to the industry. So we have 10 industries on that website, and basically a customer can go on there, or anyone. It's not only for customers. It's on the web, so anyone can look at it. But you can go on there and say, hey, I have a grocery store, or I have a convenience corner store. What kinds of conservation or efficiency tips are specific to what my needs are? And I think because they are in a position where they don't have the funds to employ somebody to make those type of consulting, expertise or advice for them, they can utilize a website like that to get more information on what are the things I should be doing. Maybe I don't have the money to upgrade, my machinery, or, for example, like a dye house uses a lot of water, right? And one of the ways that they can save water is by upgrading that washing system. And they can upgrade multiple wash systems that are separate, or they can create a system that is a larger unit that might be able to save them washes on their cycles and things of that water on their wash cycles. So it just depends on what their needs are. And that's where our programs can help. So that website is nice because it gives them tips about what they should do for a certain industry, but it also shows them what programs and what rebate programs that aligns with within the department. So if you have some technical specific to your industry projects that you want to pursue, our TAP program, our Water Conservation's Technical Assistance Program, has the ability to customize the water savings that you're looking to gain. So that's a resource that doesn't cost them anything, and it's showing them how they can save money. And I think that that's important on bringing the information to the customer at a pace where they can digest it as they would like to digest it, reach out to the specific program as they'd like to reach out to the specific program. They don't necessarily need me, the middleman, to say, hey, go talk to so-and-so in the TAP program. They can show you how to save water. I've given them a little bit of information, a lead in, so that they can have educated questions, right? So that we can serve them better. So I think that's important too, in giving the customers what they want. Allow them to choose. Give them some options. What are the standards?
And I'm so glad that Taisha mentioned the website. I'm really big on the toolbox analogy. What tools do you have in your toolbox to be able to do the job? And having the right equipment and the right infrastructure, including virtual infrastructure via the website, is really important. We just recently underwent a redesign of our website because our old one, it was a hot mess. Can't really lie about that. I had trouble finding things on that, and I've been with the department over 9 years now. The redesign has really simplified it, so that's making our jobs easier. So if somebody wants to start a new water service, we can send them to the appropriate link on the website and just tell them, make sure to keep us in the loop. That way, if we need to facilitate or follow up on anything for you, we're here for you. But having that resource is really important. And it really is a tool to be able to direct your customers there for additional information. So thanks for mentioning that, Taisha. I'm awed by the people that I work with every day because of the expertise and professionalism that they bring to the work that they do. And Taisha is a model of that example.
I think that you guys both have mentioned a lot of great initiatives, and I think you're right that customers want to learn. So if they're provided with those resources for education, they're going to take advantage of them. So I think that's really great that you have the website, you have those awards. Fantastic to hear. My next question for you is, what have you found works best for engaging with your water utility customers specifically?
Specifically, I think it's really just developing that personal relationship. And again, earlier I mentioned both internal and external. Internal, I can call people and they can come through. If I know a customer really needs something, that internal relationship will help me get it done and help me get it done fast. People will go that extra mile. By the same token, directly with our customers, we want to let them know that we go that extra mile. Up until recently, I was serving as the account advisor to the Los Angeles Unified School District, which is the nation's second largest school district. And they are busy bees indeed. They have some very advanced sustainability, idealistic, ambitious sustainability goals, and they're going at it gangbusters. So really just making sure that we're responsive and that we're connecting. I think those are really the keys to it. But I mean, I could go on, but I think it would just be reiterating a lot of the same kind of messaging there.
Yeah. And, I think that it's important to connect with the customer personally. For small businesses, for Department of Water and Power, there are almost 200,000 accounts that the small business support is looking to assist. So when I get a call or I get an email, I really have to dig in. I really have to connect with the customer to see what is it that you're looking for. Who are you? Like, what do you do? What is your expertise as far as what you know about your utility and what you're looking to gain? And sometimes, your wanting to give them an expectation of what to expect from your utility, right? Yes, you want to conserve and you want to save money. Well, did you know that we have free items? Did you know that we have rebate programs? We actually have programs, that can help facilitate what you're trying to do. And I think that's kind of where I look at it, like trying to see where they are now, because it pains me to see that customer that reaches out and they've already changed their LED lights, and that's something that we can do for free, right? Or they've already changed out their toilets, but they didn't take advantage of a rebate, So you got to find out what they need and where they are. So it's almost as if you're doing a virtual audit of what they need, right? That's our job. Jason and I both have to do that, whether it's a small customer or a large customer. We have to find out where they are, what they need, what they've already done, and then say, hey, these are some things that I think you can do in addition to what you're already doing.
And one more thing I'd like to add. I mean, we kind of mentioned being proactive and engaging with our customers. I mean, that's always going to be a challenge, finding the right ways to do it and finding effective ways to do it. But another part of it is feedback. I think in a word, that's super important. How are we doing? Because, when we talk to them on a daily basis, they're not necessarily going to say, well, you could have done this better, Jason, or you didn't tell me about this program. So finding some component to get to generate that feedback is really important. What we use at LADWP in the key accounts section is eSource. So they put together a survey, so some kind of survey mechanism, and we give them a variety of questions. We ask them about how they feel about the prices of the utility. Some customers are never going to be happy on that question, but the parts that I look most closely at is how am I doing as an account advisor? Have I been serving good? Have I been positive for them as an energy advisor? Have I responded to their needs on billing inquiries? Have I been able to help them address their water conservation priorities? Because they won't always tell you face to face. So if they have that survey monkey or whatever you use, that feedback can be critical, because I use that to chart out my plans for the coming year. Okay, when I talked to LA Unified School District, they indicated that they'd like a little bit more support on the energy advisement side. So I make that a priority. I'll touch base with our internal experts and say, look at LA Unified School Districts. They have 800 plus campuses here in LADWP service territory. What can we do to help them conserve energy? What can we do to help them save? So I just wanted to highlight that component. Get that feedback. It can really be critical to your success.
Absolutely. Feedback is critical. You're right. It can guide you on so many different things. It can help you figure out your strategies for engaging with the customers. Feedback is crucial. Something else that you both mentioned was personalization and proactive communication. And I always like to say that, well, we live in this world of Amazon and Netflix where those things are expected. Personalization and proactive communication is so important in utilities too. Customers expect it from all of the businesses, including utilities. So I love that that's a focus for you guys. This also makes me want to ask a poll question to the audience. I am wondering, for everyone out there, which communication channels does your utility currently use to engage with customers? Are they same or different than what Jason and Taisha have been describing? Let us know in the responses and we'll keep on going with our discussion. So to my next question, why is it so important that you put an emphasis on engaging with water customers? And is there any specific internal work you do to prioritize these communications?
Well, I'd just like to point out the obvious. Southern California is a desert. I mean, we can't function with our community. In even just LADWP alone has over 4 million customers, right? So we're talking about the residents of Los Angeles. And even though Jason and I concentrate on commercial customers, it's important that we impress upon the business community to be part of the residential community. You don't just have your business here, but you're actually a part of this community. And what you do affects the residents of this community. And how you affect your residents may in turn affect how successful your business is in this community. So it is community. It is, it's important to highlight that, hey, conservation is something that is important and has to be a part of your everyday plan. And we're here to try to help you achieve that as easily as possible with, no thought to it. Once you change the toilet out to a low flow, there's no thought to the money that you're not flushing down the toilet anymore, right? There's no thought to it when you change to a low flow aerator. It's done. Everyone's saving water every time they turn on the faucet based on how you used to use water, right? So we want to show you how to be more efficient in using your water and making it seamless so that you can continue to run your business without a hiccup and not being like, oh man, I gotta cut down those minutes on my washing. Or I mean, those are things that you can do behaviorally, but you're going to get more success with the things that you can change out and then work on the behavioral things that you can do as a community, as a workforce, as a resident, that you can do to cut down and conserve. So again, we're right back at education.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add to that very comprehensive answer, other than just a couple of anecdotes. One is that we tend to take more of a carrot than a stick approach. And it's worked really well. When we asked customers to conserve, they did an excellent job. And I'm not talking just over the last decade where we've experienced multiple multi-year droughts. I'm talking going back to 1970. I think we have something like 10 million more people here now, and we use the same amount of water we did at that point. So we continue to be successful, but even at that, we're still going to have to do better. So that challenge is always going to be here. And it's not just here in the city of Los Angeles, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, but statewide. Luckily we had some great rains this year, and that helped recharge everything. And of course, that spawns other questions. Well, are my water rates going up since it rained? And that's another education component there. So we have to let them know that, look, this is what your rates are. If we are considering increases, this is what it's going to go towards. We highlight the cost of infrastructure, and that goes towards things that impact them positively, such as water quality, water reliability, all of those keywords that all of us in this industry use on a daily basis.
It all comes back to education. One thing I want to come back to that we mentioned before is feedback. I think all of us in the utility space know that customers have opinions on just about anything and everything. So at LADWP, how do you receive and respond to that feedback from your customers?
Well, one of the things that we have is all kinds of contact forms all over our website, right? There's almost a contact us form for every different group that you have. There's email addresses, there are phone numbers that you can call, and you can give your immediate feedback for whatever it is that you need, right? But we also have surveys. Jason mentioned eSource, but we've also used other organizations or companies, contractors, to do specialized surveys to get the feedback of how our customers see LADWP, what they need from LADWP. We're currently working with another group to look at small businesses and find out more of the firmographics of who are our customers. What do our customers need? We don't know how much revenue every commercial customer has. We don't have that information. That's not something that we're looking to pull. But knowing where you are as far as how many employees you have, what does your day look like? What preferred time do you have during the day to actually talk about your utility needs? And oftentimes with small businesses, they're working from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. They don't have a moment's notice to sit down and have a chat with Jason or I about how they can conserve the water, and they need to be able to access information at their fingertips when they're ready to access it. So we try to kind of get that feedback through those surveys as well. We try to get that feedback through our contact us. We reach out to other people in the community We work closely with the other city agencies, like we have the Economic Workforce Development Department in Los Angeles. They reach out to us, we reach out to them. In the county, the LAEDC, the Los Angeles Economic Development Corporation, is a strong force, and they link our customers to free resources as well. So they're a voice in the community. So just staying, ear to the ground on what's going on in your community, but also giving your customers a myriad of ways to reach you. Not just one way. You can reach us any of these ways. You can call the call center. You can call us. You can call the program. You can go online. You can type in contact us. You can email us however you need.
I really like that Taisha used the phrase ear to the ground. That's a big part. That's one of the go-to tools in my toolbox. So I'm constantly listening when I talk directly, when I talk indirectly. One thing that helps is that there's a lot of internal groups that support us and that help provide us with important feedback. For example, we have the Legislative and Intergovernmental Affairs Group, and they interface directly with the council district offices. Again, we're a very large metropolitan city, and where the council districts are on an upcoming project that a customer has, where we're assisting on the construction side and helping them navigate the process to get meters installed, or PV or electric vehicle charger infrastructure installed. Having that internal feedback is helpful too, because if the customer's happy but the council district isn't, that's probably not good news for us. So having those internal mechanisms is important, so that internal feedback is there. We also have another group called Customer Services Support, which pretty much identifies contracts and provides those support services that helps us get different types of feedback from our customers. So that's another source. And then also I know there's utilities of all sizes throughout our nation and throughout the world, but if you have a communications unit, they're very useful. And I say this, full disclosure, I came from the Corporate Communications and Community Affairs group. I worked 4 years, and most of my training is in public relations, government affairs. I've kind of switched over to this customer service side in the last 5 to 7. But that's a very critical group, because they know they're always in direct contact with executive management, with our general manager, with our chief operating officer, with the head of the power system, head of the water system. So if there's key messages that need to get out to our customers, we're in the trenches here. So we're talking to them about all the things that we want to talk to them, and hopefully they want to hear, our incentive programs and such. But we're not always maybe looking at the 5,000 foot down view. So having that line of communication and staying in touch with your communications group is also critical. All of those things help towards generating feedback and giving you the information that you need to set your agenda for the day, for the week, for the month, and the year.
Absolutely. I love that you both mentioned different partnerships, both external and internal with those different groups. I think you're right. Those are really important to continuing to gain that feedback. And Jason, I like that you said that it's not just external feedback, but it's the internal feedback too that you're looking for to keep progressing and improving. All right, my next question is, what kind of programs do you have available for water customers, and how do you market them?
I'll touch a bit on the marketing. Currently, I chair the communications committee in the key accounts section where I serve the city of Los Angeles. And in that group, we have 2 newsletters. We have an internal newsletter that we use just to let our internal staff know what's happening in this section, what's a priority, what they should be talking to their customers about. And we call that internal newsletter The Wire. The marketing component, that's internal marketing from a training standpoint. If you haven't talked to your customers about this program, here's some details, and for more information, contact this person. So that way our internal base is covered. But with our customers on the outside, we use the Connections newsletter, which we run through the Questline platform. And again, that's really a marketing bent on that. So we can highlight whatever water conservation or energy efficiency programs we're prioritizing. I mentioned the sustainability awards earlier, and I think the next issue we're going to highlight one of the top water conservation honorees from this year's sustainability awards, so we can put that program forward. Taisha's mentioned the technical assistance program, which ties into water towers and cooling towers and the supporting infrastructure. So that's one of the ways that we do it on the marketing, and we do that outreach. And of course, there's direct contact, or when you're in a conversation or a quarterly meeting, and a customer says, you know what, our water bills have been getting a little bit higher than usual. That's the perfect segue into, well, I have the program for you. So in person, using our newsletters and such. But I'll pass it to Taisha.
Yeah, one of the things that LADWP is proud of is water conservation. Some of our programs are behavioral programs, like your watering days for residential customers. That's pretty standard, but it's revolutionary because the watering days has saved and conserved so much water, because so much water is used through irrigation. And we all know that that's some area where we have to have a program. So we work closely with our water conservation team on these programs. Not only the watering days, but again, I mentioned before that we have free items. So we do have free items that are available to residential, commercial. Any of our customers can get free items. And the free items include like bathroom aerators, kitchen aerators for your sinks, low flow shower heads, dye tabs for leak detection in your toilets. Those are things that are available to all customers. So all they have to do is call or email and say, I need X amount of number for dye tabs for the 5 toilets in my facility, or whatever the case may be. And they'll send those right out to them. So that's an excellent program that goes across the board that helps everyone. Of course, there's also programs for rebates on depending on what area you are, whether it be residential or commercial, or multi-residential. There's different rebates that are available, like high efficiency washers, sprinkler heads, detection for moisture devices. All kinds of devices for irrigation are on the list for rebates. And we do partner with Metropolitan Water District and Be Waterwise. But we partner with these other groups that also share our community, because we're not just the Department of Water and Power, but we're also part of the larger community of Southern California, and how we conserve affects our neighbors. And so we do partner with our neighbors on conserving water and those programs. Jason mentioned TAP, which is a technical assistance program. Basically, if you know a way to save water, and you can show us how that's going to save you water annually, we'll consider that for a program and consider giving you money towards that rebate of that program. So that's an awesome program. We're basically saying we're here to help you reach your conservation goals, right? There's also rain barrels available and irrigation classes, workshops that they have available. You can sign up for these things through our website. So there's educational programs, there's behavioral programs, there's rebate programs, and then there's free items. So we try to, hit the gamut of programs that we have available. And to what Jason was mentioning about the marketing, the Small Business Support Group has the Empowering Small Business newsletter, where we cater specifically to our small commercial customers. In those articles and in that publication, we try to highlight things that are changing within the department, but we also try to highlight some of those conservation programs. So whenever we have changes within our programs, we try to highlight that in our newsletter. The Small Business Support Group specifically, we also do email blasts to our customers. We also utilize our communications team to post things on social media. When there's something coming up or an event coming up, we say, hey, communications team is so awesome. At our department, the young lady that works with our key accounts section is phenomenal. And we can say, hey, are there any events happening this month that we need to tell our customers about? Or, hey, we heard about another event from our sister agency over here, and we want to know, can we repost that on our social media platforms? So we try to use everything at our fingertips to try to help get the message out there and make it accessible to everyone.
And I have one more program. This is one of our most wildly successful programs, our turf rebate program. That has been
Yes,
tremendous. We almost left out like the biggest story in the last decade
right.
on drought issues in the city of Los Angeles. I didn't have a communications background before, right? But yeah, the turf rebate program was just wildly successful in helping reduce water use. I think when I first came on board about 2015, I think the projection was about more than 50% of all water use was outdoor irrigation. I think that number's up to about 70% based on the more recent estimates that I read. But that program really helped significantly reduce the amount of water we were consuming. That paired with some of our recycled water programs, where where recycled water is being used for irrigation purposes, for sports fields, golf courses, etc. All of those things combined have really helped us bring it down. But that turf replacement program is administered in partnership with Metropolitan Water District, who Taisha mentions. Metropolitan Water District is a water wholesaler. It's a state agency. So basically all the water that we serve our customers comes from three primary sources. It comes from the LA River. We get that down from the Eastern Sierras. It comes down from the snowpack. So that's the one that DWP owns. Then we purchase wholesale water that comes from either the Colorado River Aqueduct or from the Sacramento Delta, and both of those last two sources are under Metropolitan Water District. So there's a finite amount of water, and our engineers are always hard at work figuring out how they can help us all to be more efficient. But it's an ongoing challenge. But I did really want to mention that. And for people that are interested in kind of looking at more details about the program and what the parameters are, you can visit the SoCal Water Smart site that is run by Metropolitan Water District. You just Google that and it'll show up, and you can kind of see the wide array of programs that we offer. But that turf rebate program is a big one, and I did not want to be remiss in leaving that out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for mentioning that. Those are just a lot of fantastic programs. Very well rounded. I love the marketing initiatives you have going on with them all. Just well done. Briefly, I was wondering if you could touch on what kind of responses you've gotten from customers about those programs. Have they commented on the programs?
I think we've gotten.
Well,
Go ahead,
from the
Taisha.
small business perspective, no problem. From the small business perspective, customers are always appreciative when they're getting something for free, right? We are telling them about all of our programs and rebates. And one of the things that's sometimes difficult is to get people to come back and say, hey, this is what we did. This is how we did it. And that's why what Jason was saying earlier about the sustainability awards, why it's so important, because a lot of times customers are not as eager to report back, right? And so we do have to do a lot of outreach to kind of get that message back, to solicit some of that feedback. How was the program for you? How was your experience, your journey through your project? Can you provide us any feedback? How has it changed the morale, or how has it changed the environment in your workplace or in your home, or those kinds of things we don't always get feedback on, and a lot of times we do have to try to solicit those things. And just whenever I give out information, I try, especially in emails, to let people know, hey, we'd love to hear about your successes. We'd love to hear about your journey. And I throw that out there because if you don't ask, then a lot of times people won't tell you. And so that's one of the things that I don't think we've mastered in the small business support group, that we're still trying to figure out the best way to solicit that feedback, to see how are people, how is their experience with our programs. Yeah, we have all these programs and they're great, but we're saying they're great. Do you really feel that they're great?
Yeah, and Taisha mentioned the sustainability awards. That's an excellent avenue right there, because they go up and they accept the award, and they say a few words about what it took to achieve that. So those are things that we can take that feedback and we can publicize that in the press release, and if the local media picks it up. So we kind of get that earned media bounce right there, which is always important. So that's kind of, it's almost like a captive audience in a sense, where they have to say something about our programs. And but fortunately, they're there for a good reason. The savings are always substantial, so it's usually a good story. But as we all know, not all feedback is positive. We do get complaints, feedback in the form of complaints about specific programs, and that's probably even more important in a lot of ways. That's the kind of information. A lot of times, there's nothing that Taisha and I can do about the amount of paperwork a customer has to do for the commercial lighting incentive program. Frequent complaint is, oh, it's a whole lot of paperwork. It has to be specific, lamps and specific equipment, and it's onerous, and we understand that. Sometimes there's not a lot we can do, but the thing that we can do is we can take that critical feedback to the program design groups and share that with them, because there's often opportunities to be able to streamline it. One area where we've really been able to make some advancements and kind of remove some of the barriers and simplify the process has been with our electric vehicle charger incentive program. That's critical to the future of DWP, and I think a lot of utilities. I think if you look at the trend lines in terms of generating revenue, a lot of utilities on the electric side have seen declines, but showing EVs with the expansion, where applicable, you'll see those numbers jump right back up. So it's really critical to our future plans. So making sure that we're finding ways for customers to be successful in participating in that program, getting those chargers installed, getting people charging on them, and us feeding those and them paying for it, that's all critical to our future success.
Thank you. You're right. The positive and negative feedback are both really important to growth. So we are running out of time, so I'm going to end with just one final question. What final words of wisdom or advice would you have for our utility friends in the audience who are trying to connect with their own water customers?
I think really it's kind of what I mentioned before. It's relationships. It's really just having that personal touch. Your relationships are I don't think just in business as a utility professional, but even on the personal side, respecting those relationships, building those relationships, investing in them. Those are the things that really can yield success. I can tell you, like a lot of the folks that I've worked with over the years, I'm still in touch with people from my past, my past jobs in other agencies, and oftentimes I'll come across them sometimes in my capacity as a Department of Water and Power employee, and those relationships, they're lasting, and it really makes it easier to do your job, because if they feel comfortable picking up the phone to talk to you about their concerns, about their problems with your utility, you're in the perfect position to help them solve those problems. So build those relationships, and again, find the right strategies and tactics, find the right tools, find out your customers' preferences. You'll get them cataloged in your head, whether they like email, whether they like phone calls, whether they want to see you once a year or 4 times a year. Find ways to really work with them to help solve their issues and address their challenges. That's the best thing we can do. I don't see our customers just as customers. They're our partners, because without them, we wouldn't be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I echo what Jason has said, and I also want to highlight that we have to keep an open mind about how we do business. In customer service, you have the ability to move the needle on your experience, right? So the experience that the customer has is tied to how well you're able to capture what it is that they need, what it is that they're looking for. Sometimes you may not have the perfect program. Sometimes the customer may have done everything that they could possibly do to conserve in their industry or in their situation. They've employed all that they can have, that they could employ, but that doesn't mean they have to walk away with a negative experience, right? So as customer service agents, right, we need to make sure that we're utilizing all of our tools, as Jason would say. What tools do you have in the toolbox? Well, hey, you've done an excellent job on water conservation. And if there's other ways that you want to promote your business so that you can increase business, so that you can grow your business and you can grow the community of Los Angeles, because we're a municipal utility, it's our responsibility to help grow, the Department of Water and Power helps grow the city as well. So when you're looking at it, think outside the box. Don't be afraid to share information with your sister agencies. Don't be afraid to get involved with different surveys in the community. Don't be afraid to, rely on some of the other resources. We have awesome educational resources in the Los Angeles area that happen to be in our territory. We have done a lot of research, partnered with USC and UCLA. Don't be afraid to look at the recommendations that they're doing from the research within your community and say, these are ways that we can expand our communication. These are ways that we can expand how we outreach. These are ways that we can expand in how we're dealing with our programs and different parameters that will be more advantageous to this population that we may not have, captured when we first launched, our newest program. And so I think it's just being open and being willing to grow, not just your relationships, but your toolbox is going to continue to grow because technology continues to grow. I mean, on the horizon, AI is coming, and at some point, we're going to have to use AI to better reach our customers, right? So there's just so many things that can come into play, and just keep an open mind. Keep your toolbox growing. Keep teaching your customers as you're learning. If you're learning, then you can continue teaching. If you haven't learned anything new, then you're just rehearsing an old line. But you have to continue learning, continue teaching, continue growing. And I think together, like Jason said, we're partners. We can grow together.
Fantastic. You're here to hear first, everyone. Build those relationships. Look at your customers as partners and keep an open mind. Jason and Taisha, this was so much fun to chat with you today. Thank you so much. We are not done yet, of course, but I am going to push one final poll question out before we jump into Q&A. My last question relates back to how you were describing your customers' reactions and feedback to your communications. So audience members, how do you measure the effectiveness of your customer engagement efforts? Are you looking at customer satisfaction surveys, customer portal feedback, responses from phone calls, analyzing your social media engagement, or monitoring customer participation rates in programs? All right, I will let that stay open now as I invite Taisha and Jason to join me live on stage for Q&A. All right. Hello. Thank you again, Jason and Taisha, for being with us today. I loved your final takeaways there, those final words of wisdom. We do have a little bit more time here, so I want to give us an opportunity to expand on some of those questions that came in through the chat. And then I'll probably have one more question for you because why not? So one of those questions that came in was, what software or apps do you use for external communications?
So for our newsletter, we do use Questline for our Empowering Small Business newsletter, which goes to small commercial customers. But there are also a number of newsletters that come through the department. Some of the other groups, like supply chains, have newsletters for procurement. Jason mentioned that there's a community newsletter that goes out from our public relations communications team, our corporate strategy and communications team. So we use some in-house and we use some contracted sources to push out those newsletters.
And I'll just add to that, there's some tools that we use, software-based tools. The Adobe Creative Cloud is a good example. That's something that we use to identify, find images for our internal newsletters. So there's different applications that we use that way, but we also leverage all of the existing social media applications. That's where a lot of our public-facing messaging gets disseminated. Nextdoor is something that we researched as soon as it started kind of evolving and getting bigger, and that's been a really effective tool, particularly engaging our residential customers. Of course, there's X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We leverage all those, and we're constantly putting out content just to keep our customers up to date about what the department is doing and what we're prioritizing for their benefit.
Awesome, thank you. The second question was about if your department produces public-facing newsletters. You both kind of touched on that. Was there anything else you wanted to say on that topic, or should we move to the next question?
Just one more thing. It's not necessarily a newsletter, but there's important publications. Having really good, really great resource material is very helpful. And we have something called the briefing book, which talks about all the department's top priorities every year. We have it broken down into the power side and the water side. Talks about what we're doing from a sustainability standpoint, what we're doing to strengthen local water supplies, and what we're doing to maintain the highest reliability in water service possible, and what we're doing to make sure that we're providing quality water to all of our customers.
Perfect, thank you. All right, I have another question for you. So my question is, what do you do to keep things fun when you're engaging with these customers?
Well, I think having a sense of humor goes a long way. But really, when it comes down to it, when you meet with the customer, whether it's a virtual meeting or in person, finding a way to connect with them. Often I'll ask about their role in the organization and their history. And that will kind of give you entry points to, to just build that partnership, build that friendship with them. And this helps them to view you. You're looking at them as a human being rather than as a cog in the machinery of their organization. So once you develop that personal connection, that's a great foundation, because you can build everything else that you need and that your customer needs from there.
And I thought, maybe it was a good idea to mention that LADWP also gets involved in community events. And there's a place on our website where you can go and you can request a booth or a water station, things like that. We can be involved in whatever's already going on in the community. Um, Small businesses, large corporations, citywide events, things of that nature. All kinds of requests come through there for our speakers bureau team. So that's a way for us to be involved in not just the capacity of this is your utility, here's your service, here's your bill, thank you for your services, but to actually become a part of the community. So I think that's important too, to actually be involved.
Absolutely. I love community events. All right, we are almost up on the hour, so I'm just going to end with one more question. If you had to choose just one engagement strategy to start with, what would you recommend other utilities prioritize?
That's a great question. I think it's going to vary, but I mean, having a plan is very important, and just knowing how to get your information to them, whether it's social media, whether it's a newsletter. For example, we use the Questline newsletter to reach a very specific customer segment. But I think that's just one way to look at it. You really got to leverage the resources you have available. It has to be something, obviously, that complies with your budget, because sometimes there's budgetary limitations on what things you can do. But finding the best fit for your customers and the best fit for your agency, and sometimes even looking outside a little bit and seeing what kind of services would support your goals and objectives in terms of communicating with your customers and engaging them on issues critical to them. But that and constant communication.
And I think our websites are really important to our small commercial customers. For me, reasons that I've mentioned before, they may not have time during your regular work schedule to access the information. And so having that information at their fingertips and spending a lot of time diving into what your message is on your website, on those public outlets, is really important for our small commercial customers, specifically for the small business support team. It's just two of us. So we're not account advisors per se, where we have the ability to outreach personally to each and every individual account holder. But through our website, we can share all the information that we can and try to meet those customers where they are, and so that they can access whatever information they need.
Perfect. Thank you both so much again. You shared so many helpful insights and tips today. I really enjoyed our time, and I know our audience did as well. So thank you both again so much. Thank you everyone as well who attended today. I know it was a longer session, so appreciate you being with us. If you do have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out and we will get back to you. As another reminder, the follow-up email will be sent to you shortly that will have the presentation materials and a playback link. And there will be a brief survey at the end of this event too, so please don't close out your browser. We would really appreciate the feedback today. Registration for our next webinar will be open soon on our website, so keep an eye out for it, and we will see you again soon. Thank you again for attending, everyone, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.